Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem-solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts, the podcast that connects you with the brightest minds and industry leaders from around the globe. I'm your host, Rose Davidson, and I'm really thrilled to embark on this enlightening journey with you. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of business, entrepreneurship, and personal development. Get ready to uncover the strategies, insights, and success stories that will propel you to new heights. Join me as we unlock the secrets to becoming a respected leader in your field. It's time to take your expertise to the next level, and it all starts right here. Welcome to the conversation. And today I'd like to welcome Henry Wong. And Henry is going to be talking to us today about how to tell your story to build your personal brand. Now, Henry is a brand strategist, he's a writer, he's a designer, and he's a creative director, and he's a talker. Yay, my favorite type of guest. Henry Wong is the president of brand strategies at View, and he's a branding and content company based in Toronto, Canada. He has guided small upstarts and small to medium enterprises to 500 level companies. And his roots spanning over 25 years include being the senior vice president, creative director for a global ad agency. Welcome, Henry, and thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Rose. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Wonderful. So tell me how you got into doing what you're actually doing at the moment. And I must say also that Henry has a book which he kindly sent me a copy of, so we'll discuss that a little bit later.
You know, I can't really, I've been often thought about tracing how I got here, and sometimes it's just the most unplanned journey that certainly gets you here. I started out life as a writer. I seem to have a knack for advertising and storytelling. Somehow I ended up in the advertising field. And as I grew in my career, branding became a strong element of what I do. I began being engaged by various personalities, including politicians and CEOs of companies to take a lot of what I had applied to products and services and apply it to people brands, and it seemed to take quite well. So I have this, I guess, ability, hopefully, to help people tell their story, and that's really the basis of the book that I put together, which is to help others to garner and tell their story and share it and build their brand around that.
Yeah, that's an interesting, not sort of remembering where you started, where you came from. It's, I guess it's evolved over time, and I guess, you're very good at what you do. So, and people have been attracted to your style of content writing.
Yeah, it in many ways started, and I often share this tale of me growing up in the back of a Chinese restaurant. And my parents were immigrants to Canada, and they ran a little restaurant. And because I was the first to learn to speak English, I became the kid at the front of the house. And I was very much like this little host behind the counter telling stories to customers as they came in. But it gave me just a wonderful perspective of the world at large. But it really helped me understand how to talk to people and what storytelling meant. Because from a pure monetary point of view, as a little boy, being able to tell a great story meant that I would get a great tip.
Oh, wow, that's even better. That's a bonus. So, a lot of people coming into business often get brand and branding confused. So, if you could just please explain what the difference is.
Yeah, so often people think of a brand simply as a way in which you are formulated as an entity. So that as soon as people either see your face as a person, see the logo, or see a slogan, they immediately identify what that brand stands for. So those are often shortcuts to the brand itself. The whole idea of branding really is the process by which you get there. So many people are more in that continual development of building their brands. So I would say for many business leaders, they're until they've formed a full entity, they're really at the branding stage in which they're trying to realize what they're all about and be able to build the story and tell it around it, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. But it is important to build a brand, because if you don't build a brand, people won't know who you are. And what are
Yeah, and
some
I think it's
steps?
yeah, sorry. And even more than that, if you don't articulate your brand, then often the competitors do, or people come to their own conclusions about you, and that's sometimes far worse because then you have no control over your own story or what you stand for in the marketplace.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of people. You take the celebrities for instance. They sometimes do a lot of damage to the brand by, uh, you know, putting a wrong tweet, or doing something in public that's not conducive to good peopleship. So and so people often then will associate that person with that wrongdoing.
Absolutely, and it's very easy to fall into that trap because if you, particularly as a celebrity, you build up a certain profile, a certain image, and people become very attached to what you stand for. And going outside of it with the wrong post or wrong behavior can easily destroy your reputation and your brand. Those who are already in that territory where they may be a bit unpredictable, maybe that sort of bad boy in the public, it may not matter because that's part of the brand. But if you're building something that is really squeaky clean and you come, and we see countless cases of this, it's very easy to derail that. And that's why it's important to manage the brand and have often people do it on your behalf so that it doesn't get out of whack. But often the problem
Absolutely.
happens if, particularly for celebrities or personalities, is to live this sort of type of persona that may not be, in fact, true to themselves. And I think that can often, on the other side, the flip side of it, is cause a lot of unhappiness.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you don't start off being authentic, people are gonna see through it eventually anyway, and it'll just bring the person concerned into all sorts of issues with depression and imposter syndrome and all those other things. So I think if you start off being authentic in the first place, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, in the final chapter of my book, I actually quote Shakespeare, and it's really "To thine own self be true." And I think that's probably the most important lesson out of all of that, which is really to your point, be authentic, be true to yourself.
Absolutely. Now, people often think that building a brand is gathering those social media followers and having the numbers on their follow list and all sorts of other things. What is a good way to build one's brand?
I think the first and foremost, the important aspect of building your brand is really defining who you are. And that in itself is almost an exercise in self-discovery because many people don't really understand who they are and therefore don't know how to project that positive sense of themselves. So often the exercises I take clients through is really to get to know themselves. And that can be done through various auditing devices, whether it's, interviewing the people around them to get a sense of who they are, third party, doing personality tests. But by figuring out and defining who you are, you really have a basis by which you can play to a little bit more to your strengths. So quite often people will fall into the trap of, oh, I need to be out there, I'm just going to gather a whole bunch of followers, or I want to appear like I'm a busy socialite and I'm very active on the club scene. So everything, it revolves around building this sort of aura and reputation around that, when in fact it may not be true and it may not be beneficial to your brand. So understanding who you are, how you fit in the marketplace, whether it's a job market or whether it's in the product and sales market, you're trying to figure out where you are within that. And once you begin doing that, then you begin going along the right track.
Yeah, a lot of people, come to that thing when a business owner, when they say, tell me about yourself, tell me what you do, and they can't think of anything. And so it's not something that they've practiced. And, so they elevator pitch is, all wrong, and they get tongue tied and comes out a whole blubbering mess. How can they overcome that?
I think again, it's like playing the part, but the authentic part. So once you learn your role and you learn what your story is, it's simple enough to share. The ones that are particularly good at it can adapt it a little bit or tweak it according to the situation. But often if you're in particularly a network event, for example, there's often a round table where you go around the room and you have 30 seconds to tell everybody about yourself, and your turn comes and you've been dreading this moment because not only are you sharing the story, you're sharing it in a very public forum, and that puts a lot of pressure on the person. But I believe in really the sort of world of creating a little bit of desensitivity, meaning that the more you do it, the easier it gets for you. So you think of often the tough challenges that you go through in life, that sort of nervousness that you have in the beginning, it goes away the more and more you do it. Just it begins to half again, and then before you know it becomes a little bit more comfortable. So the idea is to certainly put yourself in those situations where perhaps the fallout won't really matter. So even just hanging out with people in small social settings and getting the practice of telling, a little bit about yourself. But it really comes back to what is the story that you want to tell. And much of the goal is really not just to simply name off a litany of your past accomplishments or, the business that you own, but really find something that is genuinely interesting for people so that they can identify with it, because it's much more than you talking to them. If you think of many products, they often look for the benefit to the consumer. So you as a brand, you as a person, selling your company or yourself, you're looking for the benefits that may really twig well with the person listening to it. And if you navigate that well, then you'll be able to begin to find how easy it becomes, because you're just speaking naturally, and it becomes something that you can very quietly brag about and connect with the person on that level.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, when they're doing their social media posts, that they have to be all vulnerable and open themselves up. And I mean, you don't have to be that vulnerable. You don't have to tell your whole life story, but telling a story is helpful to the process that people get to know you a lot better.
Yeah, and we've seen it even on to an extreme where, and where that comes from, we know that emotion has a wonderful place in connecting with people. So by opening myself up, by being a little bit vulnerable, you may connect better with me, and as a result, respond a little bit better. And we see this often in the worst case, particularly with con artists who know how to play and tug at your heartstrings and get you to sympathize with them. But it's a very manipulative way. But understanding certainly an element of that, and in terms of opening yourself up, can certainly benefit people. Where you often can fail is if you share too much information, or you get into aspect of your life that just may not be interesting to people. You're looking to connect with people on a human level, and hopefully that comes from some of the elements that you have in life, but without to your point, Rose, of sharing too much or too much emotion or opening yourself up too much.
Yeah, it can be a very fine line to tread, can't it be? What do you share, what don't you share is often sometimes overstepped, the line's overstepped, and then you've damaged your brand because you've said too much, and people think, well, you're a bit odd, or it doesn't align with my values, or those types of things.
One of the things I advise really is to almost build your persona or your personal brand, if that is what you're looking to put forward, in multiple layers. So if you think about it, it's almost like a little bit of a entry into the inner sanctum of who you are. And many of us are very protective of who we share our personal information with. Other people are very open with it. So I think a good technique often to use is to build those sort of outer layers, those outer rooms that allow people to come into maybe the first sanctum and then to the next and to the next. So as you get to know them, and we know this from personal human experience, the more you become friends with someone, the more comfortable you are, and the more you're willing to share information. So building those rooms help to create that level of protection for yourself, but it also determines the sort of story or what you really want to share with people. So level one may be simply, I'm going to stick to the professional side. Level two may be a bit of a professional side, but a bit of personal at the same time. And then level three may end up being, that full sort of open sanctum where your personal aspect of your life really becomes your brand and your professional persona at the same time. And it's really navigating through those steps that often will help people get to understand who they are.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And, and learning how to map out the story structure that you're going to tell is really important, so that you're not blabbering it all in one sort of post, and, you're spreading it out in different posts over a period of time.
Yeah, and I think that even happens as you share your story verbally with people. We're often, as you said earlier, tongue-tied when someone says, "Tell me a little bit about yourself," and you're grasping for something interesting. I'm not that interesting, so what am I going to say? But often people are quite surprised because there's sort of universal aspects to most stories, and it often echoes what we've seen in classic literature or even classic movies, the hero story, the little struggle that you've gone through, what you've done to overcome that, how you've achieved a certain amount of success, and that sort of highlight that can be brought together in those sort of key elements of basic storytelling.
Mm. Yeah, it's that's an interesting take on it, because I've got a friend that quite often on her personal profile will share quite intimate, not intimate as in intimate, but deep down feelings about how she's feeling, and whatever, and sometimes I think that can be damaging to her overall brand, because people think that she may then just be a sooky person and not someone who's strong. To me, she's not portraying that strong side of her.
One of the aspects when you're sharing that information or you're positioning yourself or your brand to the public is really understanding who your public is. So in her case, perhaps the audience is very well accepting and they encourage her and support her as she opens up more. There are other audiences out there that are, nothing but trolls who jump on any sort of vulnerability or any opportunity to make fun of you. Again, it depends on that setting and that sort of audience that you're looking to speak to. So, to your point, if we're trying to be within a professional environment, let's say on LinkedIn, and there's a certain group in which you're trying to appeal to, you may be absolutely right. It may be that sort of information would not at all help you, whereas you may want to show strength rather than a little bit of vulnerability. On the other hand, if it relates to a certain personal aspect of it you're trying to sell, let's say, such as mental health solutions, then that vulnerability can certainly have people identify a little bit better with you. But again,
Yeah,
it goes back to understanding who your audience is, of course.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess you're right in that aspect, but I just find that to me, she's opening up too much, and she's open to trialing. So that's sort of my fear, that the trials will come around and destroy whatever confidence that she has.
Yeah, anybody who spent any time online across any platform will find it's like the class clowns we used to have back in school. They're just it's multiplied 100-fold out there. They're just looking for that opportunity to have fun with you at your expense, and sometimes it doesn't work in your favor. So it definitely is something to be cautious of course.
Absolutely. Now, tell me a little bit about your book. It's called Telling Your Story and Building Your Brand.
Yeah, so a funny thing happened during our COVID months here in Canada. We were locked down for a period of time, so I had more time available to myself than social time, which I was a little bit more accustomed to. So every Saturday, I began writing things down that I thought would be relevant. It first started really with, I had potential clients come to me and realizing that they couldn't really afford the fees that I typically charge for the counseling and the advice and the direction and the brand process that I gave. So I began putting in a book in a way to share with people. And so over that COVID lockdown, I was able to put together enough instructions and a guideline that a publisher was able to pick up on it. And hence we have this book that I'm happy to share with people.
Yeah, I as I said earlier, you was generously sent me a copy, and I have yet to read it, I must say, but it sounds interesting, and it's something that I think will interest a lot of people, in the fact that the topic is how that we can become more cohesive with our brand.
Yeah, and often the thread that holds it together is the story. Stories have existed since the beginning of time, from first caveman drawings to people standing up, simply talking monologues, or delivering different stories through books. We're so used to having a story tied to it that it's become a marketing format for many people. But the ones that do it well obviously connect well with people. The ones who do it not so well are, like many of those remainder books in the bargain bin, are left to the wayside. So I think it's, for many people looking to succeed in their career and business, it is one of the key tools that will allow you a certain amount of success, whether you're looking to fundraise for the next phase of growth of your company, or simply to connect with people and make a sale. That conduit is often the story that holds everything together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not one for sharing stories. I must say, I would rather just do the posts, and let people know what's going on, to get whatever. But yeah, storytelling, I have to get better at that. I don't like to be overly vulnerable, and I think that's something that's probably not helping me at all.
But it doesn't always necessarily mean being vulnerable or opening yourself up. It's really that, again, that controlled aspect, what you want to share. So often you might want to look at, how is it that you want to connect with people? What is the takeaway that you want people to have? What is it, the thing that you want people to remember you by, and that often comes back to defining yourself. And if you're looking to succeed, whether in your field or others, it's finding what may resonate with people and bringing it out in the best possible way. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it is opening yourself up way too much, but it does mean that you can control what you share with people. And the best thing, of course, is to share the best part of yourself that people will gravitate to and connect with on that professional basis.
Oh, absolutely. No, you don't want to share all the horrible bits about yourself. No, Henry, where can people find your book?
Currently, it's on I'm not sure the bookstores in Australia, but certainly on Amazon, on the Amazon version, you can find it there. So I'm happy to share a link with you if that's helpful, of course. But that's probably the easiest place to pick up the book if people are certainly interested.
Yeah, I'll certainly put the link in the show notes when it goes up on YouTube. Henry, you have a podcast. Tell me more about that.
Oh, it's an interesting marketing tool. So I work in, as you've said, in the world of branding and marketing. So I create a lot of content for people. So I do a reverse podcast. So typically you bring guests on it and sort of pull from their expertise. What's seems to have helped well for me, and other people may have taken a lesson from that, is by going the other way, where I have different people come on with situations or problems that they're facing. I use that time to help navigate it, and it focuses a little bit more on providing some expert advice in their given situation. And that seems to have worked quite well in terms of developing both my own brand, but certainly the business of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Good. What's it called?
No, it's just simply on the site. So I call it Viewcast, which is so my company is spelled View, VYOO, which is a bit of a phonetic spelling of view in itself. So Viewcast is where it can be found on viewbrand.com.
Wonderful. And if people want to work with you, Henry, where can they find you?
Well, I think the easiest probably is to, I have, if for information about contacting me, or my book, Henry Wong .co will easily take you there.
Wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure, Henry. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that it's helped our listeners work out how they can better their brand.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed speaking with you, Rose.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You as well. Take care.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.